Darkness. Cold. Silence. You float in the endless void before time itself, where no stars glitter and no breath stirs the air. It's not even a night sky, it's the absence of everything. You can't tell where you are or if you're even real. But then, softly, you sense two forces swirling at the edges of nothingness, one blazing hot and wild, the other frozen and still. Fire and ice, chaos and calm, drifting ever closer. And when they meet, when Muspelheim's flames kiss Niflheim's frost, the first heartbeat of existence begins. Steam curls like ghostly breath, and from that mist something stirs. A giant. Vast and heavy, his body carved from melting frost. His name is Ymir, the first being, born from the clash of extremes. You watch as he yawns and stretches, and from the sweat of his arms and legs, new giants emerge, because apparently, in this universe, personal space is optional. Beside him, drops of ice melt again, and a gentle cow appears, Audhumla, sleek and shimmering. She licks the salty ice, and as her tongue scrapes the frozen surface, another figure begins to form. Slowly, shape by shape, Buri emerges, the first of the gods, tall and radiant. You drift nearer, weightless, curious. The cow hums softly, Ymir snores like distant thunder, and in the stillness, you realize you're witnessing the quiet blueprint of creation. Scholars still argue whether Ymir was truly evil or simply necessary, a living symbol of wild, unshaped potential. Buri begets Bor, and Bor marries a giantess, Vesla. Together, they bring forth 3 sons, Odin, Vili, and Vi. You can sense something different about them. Where Ymir's kind take from the world, these 3 look upon it with eyes that want to build. You watch as Odin gazes across the emptiness, his mind already weaving possibilities. This cannot remain chaos, he seems to think. And so, with calm determination, the brothers turn toward Ymir. The old giant slumbers, unknowing of what's to come. The choice they make is heavy. They rise, weapons in hand, and strike down their ancestor. It's not cruelty, it's transformation. As Ymir's lifeblood spills, it floods the void like a red sea. From his body, the brothers begin to shape the world. His flesh becomes the earth, his bones the mountains, his skull the sky. His blood fills the oceans, and his hair grows into forests. You drift over this newborn land, watching color bloom from silence. And high above, the brothers lift sparks from Muspelheim, placing them in the heavens, the first stars, bright against the eternal dusk. You can almost feel their warmth on your face. It's a strangely peaceful act, this cosmic rearranging. Like rearranging furniture after a storm. The chaos becomes beauty, the death becomes life. But there's a quirky detail the old skalds never skip. From Ymir's eyebrows, the gods build Midgard, a protective ring for the humans yet to come. Eyebrow walls, not the most glamorous origin story, but hey, it works. You drift through the forming realms, watching order take shape. It's the first heartbeat of the 9 worlds, each a reflection of balance between light and shadow, fire and frost. You can feel the pulse of it, quiet, deliberate, ancient. And somewhere in that rhythm, a whisper reminds you, all beginnings demand endings, but we're not there yet. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Tell me in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You glance once more across the newborn world, still soft, still forming, and drift toward the horizon where new realms await. Odin, Vili, and Vi move below, their work not yet done. The story is only beginning, and you're floating right beside it. The air hums with promise. You glide over a landscape still warm from creation, mountains like sleeping beasts, oceans trembling with their first waves, skies painted with sparks from Muspelheim's fire. The 3 brothers, Odin, Vili, and Vi, stand quietly at the center of it all, gazing over their new world with awe and purpose. They've turned a corpse into a cosmos, but a body is only bones without a soul. Now, they must breathe meaning into what they've built. You follow as they walk across the raw earth, voices soft, deciding what to place where. They raise Asgard, shining and high above the clouds, a realm for gods, where golden halls will soon gleam like morning light. Below it, they shape Midgard, a circle of calm surrounded by wild seas, a place destined for humankind. Far below, in the deep shadows, they whisper life into Helheim, cold and quiet, where the dead will wander in endless twilight. Each world hums with its own rhythm, Alfheim, home of the bright elves who shimmer like sunlight through mist. Svartalfheim, the dwarves' dark forges echoing with hammers and secrets. Vanaheim, where the wise Vanir dwell, nurturing magic and peace. Jotunheim, wild and restless, where the frost giants roam, still bitter over Ymir's fall. Niflheim, the land of ice and fog, ancient as memory. Muspelheim, fire's chaotic cradle, where the mighty Surtur waits with his flaming sword. You hover between these realms, feeling the threads of energy binding them together. The brothers name this great web Yggdrasil, the world tree, its roots drinking from ancient wells, its branches stretching across infinity. You can almost hear it breathe, a quiet pulse that keeps everything in balance. Scholars still argue whether Yggdrasil is a literal tree or a cosmic metaphor, but in this moment, you can see it shimmering before your eyes. The brothers move beneath its branches, crafting the skies. They place the sun and moon in their paths, guiding them with divine hands. And, because Norse myths love a touch of the dramatic, they set wolves Skoll and Hati to chase them across the heavens. Every sunrise and sunset becomes a chase, a cosmic game of tag that will one day end in darkness. You drift closer to Odin as he raises his face to the stars. His single good eye gleams with thought. Already, he wonders about destiny, about what lies beyond this beautiful order. He feels the tug of questions that no one can answer yet. Who will fill these worlds? What stories will unfold beneath the stars he's hung? There's a strange peace in the air, but also a whisper of unease. Creation is never finished. It's only waiting for the next act. Nearby, the dwarves stir, born from Ymir's decaying flesh, tiny and clever, muttering among themselves in deep caves. They craft metals from the bones of the world, their forges glowing like captured suns. They speak in riddles and forge with purpose, already dreaming of treasures not yet made. And high above, the Vanir watch, serene and silent, their magic flowing like rivers of gold. They represent nature's calm, the cycles of life, growth, and rest. The Aesir, Odin's kin, represent will, battle, and structure. Two tribes of gods destined to clash, yet ultimately unite. But that's a story for another night. Right now, the brothers step back, looking upon their creation. The world is vast, layered, and alive. Oceans glitter, winds sing across plains, and stars blink like sleepy eyes. Still, something is missing, a pulse that is not divine, but mortal. But not yet. Tonight, they rest beneath Yggdrasil's shadow, their thoughts drifting like clouds. You linger with them, breathing in the newborn world's scent, a mix of stone, salt, and possibility. A quirky detail drifts into your mind. In Old Norse songs, the sky's dome is said to be held aloft by four dwarves, Ostri, Vestri, Nordri, and Sudri, literally named East, West, North, and South. Cosmic directions as divine construction workers. You can almost picture them grumbling about overtime. As the stars hum overhead, you realize something profound. This isn't just a myth of gods. It's a meditation on order rising from chaos, meaning born from silence. The world is ready now, but it's empty, like a stage before the actors arrive. Soon, Odin and his brothers will breathe life into its first dwellers. Soon, your quiet flight will carry you to the moment when humanity's story begins. For now, you rest within the calm between acts, drifting above shining realms and dark ones alike, watching the slow spin of the cosmos that began with a whisper. The 9 worlds sway gently on Yggdrasil's branches, and you sway with them, weightless, dreamlike, content. You drift upward now, through a soft mist of starlight and dream. Above you rises something vast, not a mountain, not a cloud, but a living pillar of reality. Its bark shimmers like silver night, and its roots hum with deep, ancient power. You realize you're seeing Yggdrasil, the world tree in all its sprawling glory. Its roots twist downward into shadowed realms, drinking from 3 sacred wells. One root reaches Asgard, where the gods dwell among golden halls. Another burrows deep into Jotunheim, the land of giants, wild and untamed. The third dips into Niflheim, dark and cold, where the well of Hvergelmir bubbles like a whispering cauldron. Each root is a thread of destiny, binding life, death, and mystery together. You float closer, fingers brushing against the glowing bark, and it feels alive, warm, steady, breathing in slow rhythms that echo your own heart. Somewhere in the branches, a squirrel named Ratatosker scurries up and down, carrying insults between the great eagle at the top and the serpent Nhggr gnawing below. Yes, even the cosmic tree has gossip running through its veins. You glance up. Above the clouds, Asgard gleams, halls of gold and silver, peaceful yet proud. You can almost hear the clinking of cups in Valhalla, though no warriors dwell there yet. Vanaheim rests nearby, lush and green, glowing with calm energy, where the Vanir gods tend to nature's balance. Far across the void lies Alfheim, home to the light elves, radiant beings who shimmer like moonlight on water. Below you, Midgard, Earth's circle, stretches wide and new, oceans shining like mirrors. Its lands are quiet still, awaiting footsteps and laughter. Around it coils the endless sea, beyond which lies Jotunheim, jagged and raw, where frost giants roam among mountains of ice. You follow a lower route and descend into Svartalfheim, dark and cavernous, where dwarves shape glowing metals and whisper secrets into stone. Their forges thrum with energy, each hammer strike echoing through worlds like a heartbeat. And deeper still lies Niflheim, a realm of frost and fog, eternal and silent. Here, rivers of venom and ice flow from ancient springs, weaving a labyrinth of shadows. Beyond it burns Muspelheim, the realm of fire, where the mighty Surtur stands with his flaming sword, patient as time, waiting for the day of burning that will end all things. 9 realms, each pulsing with its own spirit, all bound by Yggdrasil's living spine. You realize you're drifting through a cosmic design, not chaos, but balance. Life and death, fire and frost, creation and decay, all tied together in quiet harmony. Odin often stands beneath this tree, head bowed, listening. Scholars still argue whether Yggdrasil is a literal tree or a poetic vision of the universe, but here, in the soft hush of myth, it feels as real as your own breath. You hover beside one of its wells, Jörbrännr, the Well of Fate. 3 women kneel beside it, weaving glowing threads into patterns too complex to follow. The Norns. They measure every life, from gods to mortals, spinning destinies with calm precision. You feel their eyes pass over you, curious but kind. One nods, and a ripple of warmth passes through your chest, as if your path, too, has been noted. Nearby, Odin watches them often, silent and thoughtful. He senses what you now feel, that all things are connected, that even the mightiest gods cannot escape the threads spun here. But for now, the web hums with balance. The 9 worlds sway gently in Yggdrasil's embrace, each fulfilling its quiet role. A quirky tale says 4 stags, Dane, Dvalin, Dunir, and Durar, nibble on the tree's leaves, their antlers glittering with dew. You can almost hear them munching lazily, guardians and grazers both. Above, the stars blink like slow, sleepy eyes, and the wind whispers secrets through the branches. You take a deep breath, tasting cold and warmth together, a reminder of how this universe was born from ice and fire, from silence and song. Drifting among the branches, you begin to feel a gentle ache of longing, a sense that something is missing. The gods have shaped realms and rules, but where are the hearts that will walk the earth, build fires, tell stories? Where is the laughter of humanity? You look down at Midgard again, empty and waiting. Odin's gaze follows yours. Soon, he will descend with his brothers to breathe life into clay and wood. Soon, the still air will fill with human voices. For now, though, Yggdrasil sways softly, like a cradle rocking worlds to sleep. and you drift with it, suspended in the great rhythm of creation, calm, weightless, part of the cosmic breath that binds everything together. You drift downward now, gliding through cool, still air toward the green circle of Midgard. It's quiet here, no footsteps, no voices, no firelight. Only the whisper of wind across stone and sea. The world waits, full of potential, like a page not yet written. You can feel it, the hunger for life. Odin stands at the edge of the shore, his brothers Vili and Vi beside him. They gaze across this silent realm, knowing it needs more than mountains and rivers, it needs souls to sing its story. You follow them as they wander through soft sands, until Odin stops before two fallen tree trunks, one ash, one elm. He kneels, places a hand on each, and smiles faintly. "Here," he whispers, "let there be life." You watch as light stirs within the wood. Vi bends low and gives them form, shaping limbs, faces, and fingers that twitch softly. Vili breathes movement into them, the gentle rhythm of pulse and breath. And Odin leans close, his voice low and warm, whispering the final gift: soul, thought, memory, and spirit. The wood softens into flesh. Eyes flutter open. A man and a woman blink into existence, fragile and bewildered but alive. Odin names them Ask and Embla, the first humans, born of trees and divine breath. You feel a soft shiver. It's beautiful, isn't it? The idea that humanity began as wood touched by wonder. Scholars still argue whether Ask and Embla represent literal ancestors or poetic symbols, the strength of ash, the grace of elm. But in this quiet moment, standing beside their creators, they feel heartbreakingly real. The gods guide them gently, showing them how to walk, how to speak, how to wonder at the sky. Odin's gaze is kind, proud, and perhaps a little worried. Mortals are fragile things. They will love, fear, and forget, yet through them, the world will finally breathe. The brothers build a home for them in the heart of Midgard, surrounded by Ymir's brow walls, protected from the chaos beyond. The sea murmurs against the shore, as if welcoming new voices into its endless song. You wander beside Ask and Embla as they explore their new world, touching bark, watching birds, tasting cold water. Every sensation is a miracle. They don't yet know hunger, jealousy, or sorrow, only awe. You can almost feel their joy echo in your own chest. Above them, the gods walk unseen, watching their children take first steps. Odin feels a quiet satisfaction, but also a deep stirring of responsibility. He knows this act will bind the gods to humanity forever. The fates of mortals and immortals now intertwine, threads on the same loom. A quirky tale says that Ask and Embla's first words were not to the gods, but to each other. They simply asked, "Who are you?" Imagine, the first act of human curiosity, a question that would echo for ages. As day fades, the first night falls over Midgard. The stars shimmer softly, and Ask and Embla lie beneath them, eyes wide, hearts full. They don't know the names of the constellations yet, but they feel their warmth. Somewhere, the gods smile. You drift higher, watching fireflies wink like tiny souls. This is the tender heartbeat of creation, gods shaping beings who will one day worship, defy, and remember them. You sense how fragile it all is, and yet how powerful. Odin walks alone to the shore again. He stares at the horizon where the sea meets the stars, deep in thought. Perhaps he's already wondering what his children will become. Perhaps he senses that their love and pain will shape even the gods' destinies. He whispers softly to the waves, "May they grow. May they dream." You stand beside him, and for a moment, the entire cosmos feels hushed, as though holding its breath, waiting to see what humanity will make of its gift. Midgard hums gently beneath you, alive now, glowing faintly with new consciousness. Ask and Embla sleep in the grass, and the gods retreat to Asgard, leaving behind their soft blessings. The world is no longer empty. It has a voice. It has a heartbeat. It has you, mortal and divine, tangled together in wonder. You find yourself walking beside Odin, though his steps make no sound and his eyes seem to look beyond the horizon. The world hums around him, rivers murmuring, winds sighing through young forests, but his gaze is fixed on something deeper. Creation is done, yet Odin's heart is restless. He has shaped a world, given life to humanity, and crowned the skies with stars, but he craves understanding. You can feel it in the way he moves, as if every leaf, every whisper of wind is a riddle waiting to be solved. He is not content with power, he wants wisdom. The kind that cannot be forged or given, only earned. So, one night beneath the shimmering branches of Yggdrasil, Odin approaches a shadowed well. The Well of Mimir, said to hold the deepest secrets of the cosmos. Mist curls above its dark surface, and from it rises Mimir, an ancient being with eyes that hold the weight of eternity. Odin bows his head, voice quiet. "Grant me a drink from your waters, old one." Mimir studies him for a long, still moment. "Knowledge has a cost," he replies. "If you would drink, you must give what you can never regain." You feel the air tighten. Odin nods once, no hesitation. He plucks out his right eye, the one that sees the surface of things, and drops it into the well. The water ripples, accepting the sacrifice. Then Odin kneels, cupping the dark water in his hands, and drinks. It tastes like thunder, like silence, like every dream ever dreamed. When he rises, his gaze glows with a deeper light. He sees now not just what is, but what could be, the threads of fate woven by the Norns, the shimmer of destiny in every drop of rain. You walk beside him as he leaves the well, one eye gone, yet vision expanded. He's quieter now, more solemn, his laughter less frequent. But his mind hums like a storm held in a whisper. Scholars still argue whether Odin's sacrifice symbolizes wisdom gained through suffering, or the price of peering beyond mortal understanding. But here, in this stillness, it feels like a truth you can touch. In time, Odin's hunger deepens. Knowledge from Mimir's well is not enough. He seeks the runes, the secret language of creation, symbols that bind fate, magic, and meaning. And to learn them, he must face death itself. You follow him as he climbs Yggdrasil, high into its endless branches. There, he takes a spear, Gungnir, forged by dwarves, and drives it through his own side. He hangs from the tree, 9 days and 9 nights, without food or water, staring into the void. The wind howls. Shadows whisper. Ravens circle, silent witnesses. And as he suffers, the runes reveal themselves, glowing shapes dancing in the darkness, murmuring their secrets to the one who dares to bleed for truth. When Odin finally falls from the tree, he clutches those symbols in his mind, tools of magic, prophecy, and poetry. His pain is great, but his knowledge greater. He rises changed, not just king of gods, but seeker, wanderer, teacher. You watch him walk among mortals now, cloaked and hooded, offering wisdom in riddles. Sometimes he appears as an old traveler, one eye gleaming beneath his hood. Sometimes as a whisper in a dream. A quirky tale says that Odin once disguised himself to test the hospitality of strangers, rewarding kindness with blessings and punishing greed with silence. You can almost imagine him stopping at a cottage door, staff in hand, eyes twinkling. Through all of this, you sense his loneliness. To know so much is to see how fragile everything is, the gods, the worlds, even fate itself. Yet there's peace in his stride, too, as though he understands that every sorrow carries a lesson, and every loss, a seed of wisdom. You drift beside him as he gazes upon the horizon, where clouds gather faintly like omens. He knows not all knowledge brings comfort. Some truths are heavy, others cruel. But still he seeks, for in seeking, he becomes more than a god, he becomes a story that never stops unfolding. Odin turns toward Asgard once more, his ravens Hugin and Munin circling above, thought and memory, his eternal companions. They will fly across the 9 worlds each day, returning at dusk to whisper all they've seen. He smiles faintly, and for the first time, you sense calm, the kind that comes not from answers, but from accepting the vastness of what can never be fully known. You wander through the shining halls of Asgard, where the air hums with quiet power and golden light pools across smooth stone. But today, your attention is drawn to a figure unlike the rest, graceful yet restless, his eyes sharp as lightning in a summer storm. He moves with a smirk and a swagger, a spark of chaos in a kingdom of order. This is Loki, the trickster, the wanderer, the question no one asked, but everyone must answer. You trail behind him as he strolls through the halls, humming to himself, a smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. He's not like Odin's sons, nor born of Asgard's calm. Loki's roots lie in Jotunheim, among the giants, yet Odin, in one of his many curious choices, made him blood brother, binding him to the gods. And so, Loki walks freely here, both guest and mischief-maker, loved and mistrusted in equal measure. He's charming, clever, impossible to ignore. When he speaks, even the All-Father listens, though often with a sigh. You can feel the energy around him, bright and dangerous, like a candle too close to the wind. One day, he saunters into the Great Hall just as the gods are debating some cosmic problem, the construction of walls, the forging of gifts, the taming of storms. Loki, with a grin, suggests a solution no one else would dare voice. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it ends in disaster. But it's never dull. You catch one of the early tales whispered in Asgard, the time the gods needed a mighty wall to guard their realm. A mysterious builder offered to raise it in just one season, for a price. He asked for the sun, the moon, and the hand of Freya, goddess of beauty. Outrage rippled through the hall, but Loki, ever the gambler, promised the gods he could trick the builder out of his reward. The wager was struck. The builder worked swiftly, aided by his powerful stallion Svalfari. And when it seemed he might actually succeed, panic stirred. Loki, realizing his mischief had backfired, transformed himself into a mare and lured the stallion away. The wall was finished late, the deal broken, and some months later, Loki returned, with a newborn foal. A peculiar one, Sleipnir, the eight-legged horse who would become Odin's trusted steed. You can't help but laugh softly. Only Loki could cause chaos and accidentally give birth to one of the greatest creatures in myth. Scholars still argue whether Loki's shape-shifting nature reflects deeper symbolism, the merging of boundaries, the necessary tension between order and change. But watching him now, teasing Thor or playing tricks on dwarves, it feels simpler. He lives to stir the still water. Not all of his tricks are harmless. There's the day he cuts off Sif's golden hair just for a laugh, a joke that nearly earns him Thor's hammer to the face. To make amends, Loki races to the dwarves, master smiths of the deep, and convinces them to forge new treasures, Sif's shining hair of gold, Odin's spear Gungnir, and Mjolnir, the thunder god's mighty hammer. A quirky detail from the old tales says Mjolnir's handle ended up shorter than planned because Loki distracted the smith mid-forge with a mosquito bite. The gods forgave him, mostly, since the hammer could crush mountains. You follow Loki as he struts through Asgard, tossing sly grins, whispering jests that make some gods chuckle and others glare. There's a lightness in him, an energy that refuses to be still. But beneath the laughter, you sense a flicker of loneliness. He doesn't quite belong, too clever for comfort, too unpredictable for trust. At feasts, he sits at the edge of the table, raising his cup with a wink, but his eyes sometimes drift to the horizon. You wonder what he sees out there, the frost of Jotunheim, the smoke of Muspelheim, or perhaps a future only he suspects. Even Odin watches him with cautious fondness. The Allfather knows that Loki's would often saves them, and just as often endangers them. Yet he keeps him close. Perhaps because every realm, every god, needs its trickster, the one who breaks rules to reveal hidden truths. You sense the balance shifting. The laughter that once lightened Asgard's halls will one day echo with sorrow. But for now, the fires burn warmly, and Loki's voice dances through the air like a restless flame. He passes by you, eyes gleaming, and whispers, "What's a story without a little mischief?" You can't help but smile. As days turn to centuries in the golden halls of Asgard, you begin to notice something stirring in the air, a subtle change, like the whisper of a storm long before the thunder rolls. Loki still laughs, still schemes, still dances on the edge of order and ruin, but his tricks begin to cut deeper, his words laced with something colder. One evening, a feast fills the hall. The gods are merry, cups overflowing, songs rising like sunlight. But Loki enters late, his eyes dark, his grin tight. No one greets him. Perhaps they've grown weary of his games. Perhaps they no longer trust the trickster's smile. He sits apart, and silence gathers around him like a shadow. When he finally speaks, his voice is sharp as a blade. He mocks their pride, their pretenses, their blind faith in strength and honor. One by one, he unveils their secrets, Odin's hidden bargains, Freya's silent tears, Thor's buried fears. The hall grows heavy with shame and fury. The laughter that once followed Loki's words now fades into stillness. And in that stillness, something breaks. From that day, he drifts further from the gods, further from the warmth of the hearth. His mischief becomes malice, his jokes turn bitter. He joins with the giants, the enemies of Asgard, weaving plots in the shadows. But even as he walks darker paths, the old spark remains, that restless need to stir the stillness, to challenge the order that pretends it cannot fall. Then comes the day when sorrow enters Asgard in the form of a tragedy too cruel to laugh away, the death of Baldur, the Shining One, beloved by all. The gods had sworn oaths and cast spells to keep him safe, but Loki, with cunning and spite, finds the one weakness, a sprig of mistletoe. He places it in the hands of Baldur's blind brother, Hr, guiding his aim with a smile. The dart flies. The light fades. And the hall of the gods echoes with grief. This time, there is no forgiveness. No clever jest can undo what's been done. Loki flees, hunted by gods who once called him kin. He hides in the mountains, weaving nets, changing forms, but fate, relentless as winter, finds him. They bind him with chains of iron, his own son's entrails, deep beneath the earth. Over his face, they hang a serpent that drips venom drop by drop. His wife, Sigyn, stays beside him, catching the poison in a bowl, her love a quiet defiance against doom. But whenever she turns to empty it, the venom falls upon Loki's face and his writhing shakes the world with earthquakes. And so he waits. For the day when bonds will break, when fire will rise, when Ragnarok will come, the twilight of gods. You watch him in the dim cavern, eyes gleaming through the pain, lips curved in a strange smile. Perhaps he sees beyond the end, to a world reborn from ashes, where even tricksters might find peace. The sagas say he will march with the giants against the gods, that he will steer the ship Naglfar across stormy seas, that he will meet Heimdall in a final, fatal duel. But for now, in the stillness of the cave, you hear only the drip of venom, the quiet breath of Sigyn, and the distant heartbeat of a world that owes its chaos and its change to him. You step closer. Loki turns his head slightly, eyes catching the faint light. "Do you understand now?" he whispers. "That even mischief has a purpose, even ruin is part of the pattern?" The words linger in the air like smoke, neither comfort nor curse, but truth. And as you leave the cavern, the world above shimmers fragile, beautiful, trembling on the edge of dawn. The story of Loki, the trickster, the maker, the breaker, is not just a tale of laughter and lies. It is the pulse of the cosmos itself, chaos breathing life into order, so the cycle may never sleep. You walk away from Loki's dark cavern, the echoes of his laughter still clinging to the air, not joyful now, but hollow, like a memory of something lost. Above you, the world continues to turn, sun over Asgard's golden spires, clouds rolling softly across Midgard's skies. Yet you feel it, a shift, a subtle tremor in the fabric of the nine worlds. The gods no longer speak Loki's name without sorrow. And yet, every whisper of mischief, every spark of rebellion, still carries a trace of him. It's as though he remains in the wind itself, unseen, unpredictable, necessary. You drift now toward Thor, the Thunderer. He stands at the edge of Asgard, watching storm clouds gather, hammer in hand, eyes thoughtful. For centuries, he has been the shield, the one who stands between chaos and peace. But even he feels the weight of what has come. The laughter has faded from his halls. The light of Baldur is gone. And with Loki gone too, imprisoned, broken, the balance seems brittle. You stand beside Thor as he recalls their adventures, chasing Loki across mountains, laughing as they tricked giants, saving one another more times than he can count. Beneath the rumble of thunder, you hear something soft, regret, perhaps. Even gods mourn what they have lost. Still, Thor presses on. He travels the realms, defending the weak, striking down trolls and frost giants. But there's a heaviness in his steps, a quiet understanding that each battle he wins is just a moment stolen from an ending that's already been written. Because deep within the roots of Yggdrasil, the threads of fate are tightening. The Norns, those three weavers who spin the destinies of all beings, hum softly as they work. And their song is not one of endless life, but of cycles: birth, bloom, decay, rebirth. Even gods are not beyond that rhythm. Scholars still argue whether this acceptance of fate was a source of comfort or terror to the Norse, whether they saw doom as something to dread or as a truth to walk beside. You, watching the storm roll across the sky, can almost understand both. You wander then through Midgard, the world of humans, a realm touched by both divine order and trickster chaos. You see the reflection of Odin's wisdom in storytellers, the echo of Thor's courage in warriors, and Loki's spark in every child who questions why things must be the way they are. It's a quirky thought, really, that a being as wild and unpredictable as Loki might live on in every clever invention, every sly grin, every small act of rebellion against the dullness of routine. In that way, maybe the gods never truly fade. They just shift form. You pause at the edge of a quiet forest, the wind whispering through the branches like old voices. Somewhere, beyond sight, Yggdrasil's roots hum softly. Life continues, even as shadows gather. You can almost feel the tension building, the slow, inevitable pull toward Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. Odin knows it. Thor feels it in his bones. Even the animals sense it, the restless stir of Fenrir's chains, the rising tide where Jormungandr coils. But there's something else too, a calm acceptance, like the hush before a long-awaited storm. Perhaps that's the most human part of the gods, not that they fight, but that they fight knowing they will fall. You tilt your head back and watch lightning fork across the sky, a reminder of Thor's strength, his promise to defend Asgard until the very last breath. The thunder rolls like a heartbeat. Somewhere far below, Loki shifts in his bonds, eyes glinting with secrets. Somewhere far above, Odin gazes into the distance, seeing what must come. And you? You walk between them, a silent witness to the slow unwinding of a story older than memory. The sky darkens. The air grows heavy. The next chapter waits, one of whispers, of prophecy, of doom foretold in runes and dreams. But for now, as the rain begins to fall softly across the 9 worlds, you breathe in the quiet. The calm before the end. The beauty of a story still unfolding, even as its last verses are already written. Because in Norse mythology, endings are not to be feared, they are promises of something beyond. And in the stillness, you realize, even in destruction, there is a strange, gentle peace. You walk now through mist and shadow, where whispers cling to the air like cobwebs. The calm that followed Baldr's death has turned brittle, fragile as frost. The gods try to pretend things are as they were, feasts still echo in Asgard's halls, Thor still thunders across the skies, Odin still consults the runes, but beneath it all, you feel it, the quiet unraveling. Even the birds seem restless. Even the wind sighs with warning. Odin's ravens, Hugin and Munin, return each dawn with troubling tales of cracks in the world, of storms rising from Jotunheim, of old prophecies stirring awake. Odin listens in silence, his one eye heavy with thought. He knows what these signs mean. You know it too. Still, he tries. He rides far and wide, seeking wisdom from seers, giants, and ghosts. He peers into the well of Mimir, the deep mirror of fate, and sees the shadows gathering. Ragnarok, the final destiny, is no longer a distant myth. It is a heartbeat approaching. Scholars still argue whether Odin's obsession with prophecy was his strength or his downfall, whether knowing one's fate brings power or only despair. You watch him stare into the swirling waters, and you wonder if knowledge is always worth the price. Meanwhile, Loki's children stir in their hidden places. Fenrir, the wolf, grows vast and terrible, his chains groaning with each breath. Jormungandr, the world serpent, twists through the oceans, his coils tightening around Midgard. And Hel, queen of the dead, sits upon her cold throne, half beautiful, half corpse, watching with patient eyes. It's almost poetic that the trickster's offspring should embody the end itself, chaos, death, and the swallowing sea. A quirky tale lingers among storytellers that Fenrir once allowed Tyr, the brave god, to feed him by hand, trusting him as a friend. But when the gods tricked the wolf into chains, Tyr was forced to place his hand in Fenrir's jaws as a pledge. When the fetters tightened, the beast bit down and Tyr lost his hand. A quiet exchange, trust traded for betrayal, order paid for with blood. You stand now beside Tyr as he gazes toward the horizon, his empty sleeve fluttering in the wind. There is no hatred in his eyes, only sorrow and perhaps understanding. The gods did what they thought they must. But the cost of such choices never fades. Even Thor, mighty and loud, grows more solemn these days. His hammer still rings with thunder, but his laughter comes less often. He knows the serpent waits for him. He dreams of waves rising, of fangs and poison, of final battle. Yet he does not shrink from it. Because that's the thing about these gods, they don't run from doom. They walk toward it, shoulders straight, eyes open. There's something noble in that. Something deeply human. You drift through Asgard's golden gates and down the Bifrost Bridge, shimmering with rainbow light. Heimdall stands at his post, horn in hand, eyes ever watchful. He nods to you as you pass, silent but aware. He too waits for the day when that horn will sound the call to the final war. For now, the 9 worlds hold their breath. The sun still rises, though a little dimmer. The stars still shine, though a little colder. But the web of fate is tightening, and each thread trembles under the weight of what's to come. You pause beside Yggdrasil's roots, feeling the ancient pulse beneath your feet. The great tree groans softly, as if burdened by knowledge too heavy to bear. Somewhere deep within its bark, the Norns hum their secret song, a lullaby of endings. And yet, even in this quiet dread, there is beauty. The knowledge that all things, even gods, even stars, follow the same rhythm. Life, struggle, fall, renewal. You step back, letting the wind brush against your face. The air smells of rain and fate. Soon, Odin will march to war. Thor will meet the serpent. Loki will break his chains. The sky will burn and the sea will rise. But not tonight. Tonight, the worlds still turn. The gods still breathe. And you stand between dusk and dawn, a witness to the long, slow twilight. The storm is coming. You can almost hear it now, distant thunder rolling beyond the edge of time. The twilight deepens. You can feel it now, the hush that lingers before great storms, the weight of a prophecy that refuses to sleep. Every whisper across the 9 worlds hums with the same refrain: Ragnarok is coming. Odin feels it most of all. You see him wander far beyond Asgard's shimmering walls, his cloak heavy with dust, his single eye fixed on horizons that mortals cannot see. He is searching again for knowledge, for hope, for some hidden path that might outwit fate. But each step only brings him closer to what must be. He travels to the Volva, the ancient seeress who speaks from beyond death's veil. You follow, silent, as he stands before her dark throne, demanding the truth. Her voice is a low tremor, like the roots of Yggdrasil shifting deep below. She tells him what he already knows, that the wolf will devour the sun, that the sea will rise, that the gods will fall. She warns him that his own son, Fenrir, will tear free from his chains, that Thor will meet the serpent in battle, that Loki will lead the giants through the shattered gates. Odin's joy tightens. He does not flinch. The prophecy is not new, only the silence after it ends. Because this time, the seeress offers no hope of escape. Scholars still argue whether Odin's quest for foresight was wisdom or hubris, whether knowing one's doom grants peace, or merely steals joy from every breath before it. You walk beside him through shadowed forests and starlit plains, and you can feel both truths pressing against your heart. Yet, even knowing all this, Odin continues to prepare. He trains warriors in Valhalla, filling its endless halls with the souls of the brave. You watch them feast and fight, their laughter echoing like thunder, heroes gathered for a war they do not yet understand. Meanwhile, the world itself begins to shudder. Winters grow longer, crueler. Crops fail. Brothers turn against brothers. Even the stars seem dimmer, their light trembling like dying candles. The Norse called it the Fimbulwinter, the great winter that will precede the end, 3 years with no summer between. You drift across Midgard, watching villages fade under snow, fires burning low. And still, there's a strange calm, as if everyone, deep down, already knows the truth, that endings are woven into the beginning. A quirky legend says that in those final days, roosters will crow across the realms, one in Asgard, one in Jotunheim, and one in Hell. Each cry will awaken warriors, giants, and the dead themselves. A cosmic alarm clock, announcing the end of everything. Back in Asgard, Thor sharpens Mjolnir in silence. Freyr polishes his golden sword, though he knows he'll one day face the fire giant Surt unarmed. Heimdall stands watch, his ears attuned to every tremor, every sigh of wind. And in the farthest corners of the cosmos, the wolf Fenrir tests his bonds, muscles straining, hatred burning. You walk through these moments like a dream, calm, steady, inevitable. The gods don't shout or rage. They simply prepare. There's something haunting about their composure, as though acceptance itself is sacred. Odin climbs once more to the well of Mimir, seeking counsel. The old giant's voice rumbles like distant thunder. What is written cannot be unwritten. Odin nods silent, then turns away, the weight of countless fates pressing upon his shoulders. And yet, even now, he plants seeds of hope. He whispers to his sons, to the young gods who may survive the coming dawn. He sets aside knowledge and tools that may one day rebuild what is lost. Because Odin may accept death, but he will not surrender meaning. You find yourself gazing into the night sky, where the constellations shimmer like ancient runes. Somewhere, far below, Loki stirs in his chains. Somewhere, far above, the first flickers of the final dawn begin to form. The world breathes, holding still. You close your eyes and feel the rhythm, the pulse of life and death, rise and fall, the heartbeat of a cosmos that has always known its end. Ragnarok is not yet here, but its footsteps are close. The air grows colder now, not with the bite of winter, but with the hush of destiny drawing near. You drift through Asgard's quiet halls, where even the golden walls seem dim, their shine softened by sorrow. The gods move like echoes of themselves, proud, resolute, but touched by melancholy. They know what you know, the end draws close. In this silence, one light still burns brightest, Baldur, the shining god. His laughter is music, his presence warmth. Wherever he walks, shadows scatter. The others adore him, even Odin himself finds comfort in Baldur's glow. But dreams come dark, whispering things that coil around Baldur's sleep. Dreams of falling, of silence, of death. And in the heart of Asgard, such dreams are never taken lightly. So Odin rides again, this time not to seek victory, but understanding. He mounts Sleipnir, his 8-legged steed, and journeys beyond the living world, through the mist and into Hell, the realm of the dead. There, in the cold halls beneath the roots of Yggdrasil, he finds a feast prepared, a chair empty, a goblet waiting. Odin asks the dead queen, Hel herself, who the banquet is for. She smiles, half beautiful, half rotten, and answers softly, for Baldur. Odin's heart sinks. He begs for mercy, for a way to change the course. But Hel's words are final. What is woven is woven. He returns to Asgard heavy with grief. Yet still, the gods try to fight fate. They gather every being in the 9 worlds, gods, giants, dwarves, beasts, and demand oaths. No creature shall harm Baldur. And all agree, all but one. A single sprig of mistletoe, too small, too harmless to seem a threat, is forgotten. It's a quirky detail, isn't it? That the mightiest god could fall to the gentlest thing. A plant used for kisses, not for killing. But fate is fond of irony. Loki sees the oversight. He plucks the mistletoe, sharpens it into a dart, and seeks out Hr, Baldur's blind brother, who stands apart from the joyful games where the gods throw spears and stones at Baldur, watching them bounce harmlessly away. With honeyed words, Loki offers to guide Hr's hand. Join the fun, he says. Let me help. The dart flies. Baldur smiles, then gasps. Light fades. Silence falls. For a moment, all of creation holds its breath. Then the wail rises, a sound that shakes the roots of the world. Even the earth weeps. Odin kneels beside his fallen son, his hands trembling. Frigg, the mother, screams to the heavens. Thor's hammer trembles in his grip. And Loki? He stands in the shadow, a flicker of triumph in his eyes, though perhaps, just for an instant, a spark of regret too. The gods act swiftly. They send Hermod, swiftest of riders, down into Hel's realm to plead for Baldr's return. Hel listens, and at last, she agrees on one condition. Every being, everywhere, must weep for Baldr. And so they do. Trees drip sap like tears. Stones glisten with sorrow. Even rivers pause to mourn. But one figure refuses, an old woman in a cave, her voice cold as iron. She will not cry. Let Hel hold what she has, she says. Scholars still argue whether that woman was Loki in disguise, sealing Baldr's fate with one final cruelty. And so, Baldr remains in the underworld, the shining god in the shadowed halls, a light buried in the dark. Odin turns away, his heart heavy. The death of Baldr is not just the loss of a son, it is the first trumpet of Ragnarok, the signal that even the gods are not beyond the reach of fate. You walk the silent halls with them, feeling their grief like a chill on your skin. No song can lift it. No feast can drown it. Asgard has lost its laughter. And far below, Loki's laughter echoes softly, not in joy, but in something deeper, stranger. Perhaps even he didn't foresee how this thread would pull the whole tapestry loose. You pause at the edge of Asgard's walls, watching the fading sun. For all their power, the gods could not save what they loved most. Perhaps that is what makes them divine, not their strength, but their sorrow. The world holds its breath. The sky darkens. Ragnarok draws nearer. You walk now through a world cloaked in sorrow. The death of Baldr has left Asgard quieter, colder. The halls once filled with laughter now echo with whispers. Even the wind seems to carry mourning, sighing through the golden arches like an old lament. The gods gather in council, Odin at their head, face drawn and tired. His eye, that once gleamed with curiosity, now glows with grim understanding. He speaks no word of comfort. He knows this grief cannot be undone. But there is one who cannot stand among them. One whose shadow haunts the room even when he is gone. Loki. The trickster's deed has crossed a line that cannot be redrawn. No jest can excuse it. No charm can soothe it. The gods know now that his laughter hides something darker, something that threatens the very balance of their world. And so, the hunt begins. You follow them through forests and mountains, across icy rivers and wind-swept cliffs. They find him at last, far from Asgard, hiding in a cave beside a rushing stream. He is weaving a net, clever, intricate, glistening with trickster's craft. It's a quirky image, a god of chaos making something so precise, like fate itself caught in his fingers. But when he sees them coming, Loki tosses the net into the fire, transforms into a salmon, and leaps into the river. The gods are not fooled. They wade in, spread the net wide, and catch him as he wriggles against the current. Thor grips him tight, and though Loki thrashes and spits curses, there is no escape. They drag him back to Asgard, but not to judgment. To punishment. You stand in silence as they bring forth Loki's sons, Vali and Nari. One is turned into a wolf, driven mad, who rends his brother apart. With Nari's entrails, the gods bind Loki to 3 stones deep beneath the earth. Above him, they hang a serpent, its fangs dripping venom. Each drop sizzles like fire upon his skin. His wife, Sagan, kneels beside him with a bowl, catching what she can. But when she turns to empty it, a drop falls and Loki writhes, his screams shaking the ground, the quakes of the earth itself. It's a strange thing to witness, not vengeance, not justice, but a kind of cosmic necessity. As though the universe itself demands this binding. You look into Loki's eyes, and there is no plea, no apology. Only defiance. And beneath that, something like sorrow. Perhaps even he didn't mean for things to go so far. Or perhaps this was always his path, the chaos that must be chained until the end. Odin stands apart, silent, his face unreadable. Thor clenches his fists, torn between anger and pity. Freya turns away, tears glistening like morning dew. The gods return to their halls, but the world does not feel safer. The venom drips. The earth trembles. And somewhere deep in the roots of Yggdrasil, something stirs as if the tree itself shivers at what has been done. Scholars still argue whether Loki is a villain or a victim, whether his binding is a triumph of order or a tragedy of misunderstanding. You can see both, a trickster who went too far and a being too wild to be contained by any world. Centuries pass above him. Seasons turn. Yet he remains bound, eyes fixed on the darkness, waiting. He knows, as all do, that these chains will not hold forever. When the end comes, they will snap like thread. And Loki will rise again, not as a jester, but as a storm. You stand above the cavern now, feeling the tremors beneath your feet, the soft pulse of inevitability. The gods have tried to mend what was broken, but they cannot unweave the pattern. Baldur is gone. Loki is chained. And the silence between thunderclaps grows longer, heavier. It is the silence before the roar. The end is no longer a whisper. It's a breath away. The air in Asgard grows heavy with prophecy. The seers whisper of signs, wolves chasing the sun and moon, stars vanishing from the sky, the roots of Yggdrasil trembling with pain. The gods try to ignore them, to drown their fear in feasts and battles, but deep within, each heart knows, Ragnarok is coming. And beneath the earth, Loki waits. Bound in shadow, venom dripping, he counts the ages by the echoes of his own screams. His hatred hardens into resolve, his sorrow into purpose. Each tremor in the rock above feels like a promise, a reminder that the world that condemned him will one day burn. You watch him in the dark. His eyes, once mischievous, now burn like coals. He remembers Baldur's pale face, the gods' accusing stares, the laughter that turned to silence. He remembers Seijen's loyalty, her tears, her bowl that could never catch enough. And he whispers to the earth, "When the chains break, I will return the favor." Far above, Odin roams the world, searching for knowledge. He peers into every shadow, every pool, every whisper of fate. But no wisdom brings him comfort. Even Mimir's head cannot offer hope, only the same refrain, "The doom of gods cannot be undone." Thor wields Mjolnir with desperate strength, fighting giants, monsters, and shadows, as though each blow could delay the end. But the sky grows darker, the sea restless, and the wolves scowl and Hati run faster with each passing night. Freya prays to the Vanir, seeking peace, but none comes. Even her tears, gold upon the grass, cannot buy time. And so the gods begin to prepare, not to avoid the end, but to face it. They forge weapons, build fortresses, train armies. Valhalla's halls swell with warriors, their songs turning from glory to grim readiness. The humans below feel it too, storms without end, winters that stretch for years, brother rising against brother. The bond between worlds weakens. Then, one day, the earth cracks open. A roar splits the silence. Loki's chains snap. The serpent's venom splashes across his face, but he laughs, a sound like shattering glass. He rises from the pit, older, twisted, his eyes blazing with fury. He looks to the sky, and even the sun seems to flinch. By his side, monsters awaken, Fenrir the wolf, Jormungandr the serpent, Hel from her shadowed realm. Together they march upon Asgard. You watch as the sky splits, flames spilling from Muspelheim, Surt's sword blazing brighter than 1,000 suns. Heimdall lifts the horn-jeweler horn and blows. The sound echoes through every realm. The gods rise to meet their fate. Odin mounts Sleipnir, spear in hand. Thor grips his hammer. Freya dons her armor. Tyr draws his blade with his one hand, unflinching. They gather on the plain of Vigrid, where sky and sea will meet in final battle. And you stand among them, watching not as a god, not as a mortal, but as a witness to the inevitable. This is not a story of heroes and villains anymore. It is a story of cycles, creation and destruction, laughter and grief, order and chaos. The world trembles. The sun turns black. Stars fall like tears. Loki faces Odin, their gazes locked. No words pass between them. There is nothing left to say. The horn has sounded. The end has come. The sky is burning. You stand on the field of Vigrid, where earth and heavens meet in a storm of fire and frost. The air is thick with ash, and the roar of battle is louder than thunder. You can taste the metal, the smoke, the end of all things. Across the plain, the armies of chaos surge forward, giants with eyes like embers, serpents coiled in oceans of blood, wolves snapping at the last light of the sun. From Muspelheim rides Surt, his flaming sword high, a blade said to burn brighter than the stars. And at their head, Loki. Once a trickster, now a bringer of doom, he leads his monstrous children Fenrir, the wolf destined to devour the Allfather, and Jormungandr, the serpent that encircles the world. Behind them march the dead from Helheim, pale and silent, their eyes hollow as broken moons. You feel the ground quake beneath their steps. The gods of Asgard stand ready. Odin rides Sleipnir, spear Gungnir in hand, his one eye burning with grim resolve. Thor, the Thunderer, stands beside him, lightning rippling along his arms as he grips Mjolnir. Tyr, the one-handed god of war, faces Garm, the monstrous hound. Freya and Freyr lead their warriors, their faces calm, knowing this battle cannot be won, only honored. The Gjallarhorn still echoes in the distance, its note vibrating through your bones. You realize this is not chaos. This is destiny unfolding, every strike and scream part of the great rhythm the Norns once wove into the threads of time. The first clash comes like a storm. Surt swings his flaming sword, and a wave of fire rolls across the battlefield, melting armor, setting sky and sea ablaze. Thor charges into the blaze, unflinching, his hammer crashing down on the serpent Jormungandr. Lightning and venom explode across the plain, the shockwave tearing mountains apart. They battle fiercely, the god of thunder and the world serpent, until the sky cracks. Thor smashes the serpent's skull, but as Jormungandr dies, it releases its venom, black and deadly. Thor takes 9 staggering steps and falls. You watch the thunder fade. Odin, seeing the serpent fall, turns to face his fate. Fenrir lunges, jaws wide enough to swallow the sun. The Allfather strikes with Gungnir, the spear of destiny, but destiny does not bend. Fenrir devours Odin whole. The gods cry out, but Vidar, Odin's silent son, rushes forward. He places his foot on the wolf's jaw and with a mighty tear, rips it apart, avenging his father. Nearby, Tyr and Garm slay each other, their blood mingling in the dust. Frey falls to Surt's blade, his magic sword long since given away. Loki and Heimdall meet in the center of the chaos, eyes locked, 2 guardians of different paths. Their blades strike again and again until both fall, their bodies collapsing side by side. Scholars still argue whether this battle was ever meant to be literal, or if it's a cosmic metaphor, a mythic mirror of nature's endless cycles. But as you watch, it feels utterly real. Every drop of blood, every shattered cry, a note in the great song of endings. And then, silence. The fire rises higher, consuming all. The roots of Yggdrasil tremble. The sea boils. The stars go dark. The world, once full of gods and wonder, collapses into shadow. But even in that final breath, you sense something, a whisper, faint as dawn. All that dies shall live again. Because Norse myth has never been about final endings. It's about renewal. After the flames fade, the earth stirs. From the ashes, green shoots rise. Rivers flow again, mountains reform, the sky clears. 2 humans, Lif and Lifthraiser, emerge from the forest, survivors hidden in the trunk of Yggdrasil. They look upon a quiet world and take their first steps into a new age. Some gods return to Baldr, the Shining One, and Hr, his brother, walk through the dawn, their feud forgotten. The sun's daughter rises to light the heavens anew. And somewhere beyond, in the gentle hum of rebirth, the echoes of Odin, Thor, and Loki linger, not as gods of war and trickery, but as stories carried by wind and word, reminding you that every end is also a beginning. You exhale, the smoke fading, the sky clearing. The world breathes again. The fires have faded now. Only embers glow across the horizon, soft and warm, like the last heartbeat of a dream. You stand in the quiet that follows the storm, the kind of silence that hums gently in your ears, like the earth itself is sighing in relief. The sky is pale again, washed clean of ash. A new sun rises, golden and gentle, stretching her light across mountains reborn and rivers singing softly through green meadows. You breathe it in, the scent of damp soil, fresh leaves, and promise. All around you, life stirs. Tiny birds flutter through the branches of Yggdrasil, the world tree, whispering songs of beginnings. In the distance, two figures, Lif and Lifthraiser, walk hand in hand through morning mist. They don't look back. They don't need to. The world ahead is theirs to shape, unburdened by gods or fate. You take a slow step forward, feeling the soft earth beneath your feet, and realize this story, though filled with fire and thunder, has always been about renewal. About the courage to face the end and still believe in what comes next. The gods, too, are not gone. They linger in memory, in starlight, in stories told beside quiet fires. Odin's wisdom, Thor's strength, Loki's laughter, all woven into the rhythm of time. You can almost hear them in the wind, echoes of a world that burned and bloomed again. You glance up at the branches above, vast and endless, shimmering with dew. Somewhere deep in their roots, old memories sleep. But tonight, they rest easy. You do too. Because you've walked through chaos, through prophecy and flame, and you've come out the other side. And now, it's time to let go, to let the world settle into stillness. So close your eyes. Feel the air soften around you. The hum of the fan in your room blends with the hush of distant waves. The story lingers only as a whisper, a lullaby from the north, telling you that even after the fiercest storm, there is calm. You're safe now. The world has begun again. And you, the quiet witness, can finally rest. Sleep well, traveler. May your dreams be filled with golden halls, quiet forests, and the soft laughter of old gods. Good night.